Hello, my dear friends. Today I want to share with you a story about my journey to California, a trip that changed my life in unexpected ways. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Ethan Carter. I'm 25 years old and I work as a graphic designer in a small but vibrant design agency based in Chicago. I've always been the kind of person who finds comfort in routine. Wake up, work on projects, have coffee breaks with my colleagues, and unwind at home with a good movie or a book. But there was a part of me deep down that craved something different, something exciting. I always dreamed of traveling to a new place, exploring unfamiliar streets, meeting new people, and creating memories that would stay with me forever. That's when the opportunity to go to California came my way. Let me tell you how it all started. It was a regular Tuesday afternoon. I was at work staring at my computer screen, working on a branding project for a local bakery. My phone buzzed on the desk and I saw a message from my best friend Dylan. "Hey Ethan, my cousin is getting married in Los Angeles next month. You should come along. It'll be a great trip." At first, I laughed at the idea. Me? Taking a trip across the country? It felt too spontaneous for someone like me. But as I thought about it, the idea began to grow on me. "Why not?" I finally replied. The next few weeks flew by in a blur of planning. Flights were booked, bags were packed, and my excitement grew each day. I couldn't stop thinking about all the things I wanted to see. The beaches of Santa Monica, the bustling streets of Los Angeles, the iconic Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. The day of my journey finally arrived. I remember stepping onto the plane feeling a mix of nervousness and excitement. As we took off, I looked out of the window, watching Chicago shrink beneath me, and I couldn't help but smile. The flight was smooth, and before I knew it, the plane was descending into Los Angeles. The view from above was breathtaking. The city sprawled out beneath a golden sunset, the Pacific Ocean shimmering in the distance. When I stepped out of the airport, the first thing that hit me was the warmth. It was early November, but in California it felt like a mild summer day. Dylan was waiting for me at the arrivals gate, his face breaking into a wide grin when he saw me. "Welcome to Cali, man," he said, giving me a big hug. We drove to his cousin's house in Glendale, a quiet suburb just outside of Los Angeles. The streets were lined with palm trees and the houses looked like they were straight out of a movie set. As we pulled into the driveway, I couldn't help but feel like I was stepping into a different world. That night, as we sat around the dinner table with Dylan's family, I felt a sense of warmth and belonging. They welcomed me as if I were part of their family, sharing stories and laughter. The next morning, we began exploring the city. Our first stop was Santa Monica Pier. The ocean stretched out endlessly before me, the waves crashing gently against the shore. I felt a sense of peace that I hadn't experienced in a long time. Dylan and I walked along the pier, taking in the sights and sounds, the laughter of children, the smell of salt in the air, the street performers showcasing their talents. From there, we ventured into the heart of Los Angeles. The Hollywood Walk of Fame was crowded with tourists, each one eager to find their favorite star on the sidewalk. I couldn't help but feel a bit overwhelmed by the sheer energy of the place, but at the same time, it was exhilarating. We visited Griffith Observatory that evening just as the sun was setting. Standing there, looking out over the city as it lit up beneath the twilight sky, I felt a deep sense of gratitude. This was a moment I would remember forever. A few days later, we took a road trip to San Francisco. The drive along the Pacific Coast Highway was nothing short of magical. The winding roads hugged the cliffs, offering stunning views of the ocean below. We made several stops along the way, exploring quaint seaside towns and hidden beaches. When we finally arrived in San Francisco, I was captivated by its charm. The Golden Gate Bridge with its iconic red arches was even more magnificent in person than in pictures. We spent hours walking through the city, visiting landmarks like Alcatraz Island and Fisherman's Wharf. One of the most unexpected highlights of the trip was the people I met. From the friendly cafe owner in Los Angeles who gave us a free slice of pie because he liked our vibe, to the street artist in San Francisco who shared his story of chasing his dreams, every interaction left an impression on me. These conversations reminded me of the importance of connection, of stepping out of my comfort zone and embracing the unknown. As I sat on the plane looking out at the setting sun casting a golden hue over the California coastline, I couldn't help but reflect on everything I had experienced. California was more than just a place. It had become a feeling, a memory, and a lesson all wrapped into one. The plane began to taxi down the runway, and I leaned back in my seat, the hum of the engines a soothing backdrop to my thoughts. My phone buzzed with a message from Dylan. "Safe travels, man. California will miss you." I smiled, typing back, "I'll miss it too. Thanks for everything." When I landed in Chicago, the crisp air felt so different from the warm California breeze I'd gotten used to. My hometown welcomed me back, but I could feel the subtle shift within me. It was like California had left its mark, igniting a spark of curiosity and a sense of openness I hadn't fully embraced before. The next day at work, everything seemed both familiar and slightly different. I caught myself smiling more, thinking about the little moments I had cherished during the trip, like the way the ocean breeze felt on my face at Santa Monica Pier, or the sound of street performers playing music on the Golden Gate Bridge. During a coffee break, my colleague Mia noticed my unusually cheerful demeanor. "Hey, Ethan, you seem different today," she said with a curious look. "Do I?" I asked, smiling. "Maybe it's because I just came back from California." She leaned in, intrigued. "California, huh? Tell me everything." As I recounted my journey, I could see her eyes light up. By the end of the story, she sighed. "That sounds amazing. I've always wanted to go there." "You should," I said earnestly. "It's not just about the sights, it's the way it makes you feel. It's like you find pieces of yourself you didn't know were missing." In the weeks that followed, I began to notice how the trip had changed me in subtle ways. I started saying yes to things I would have hesitated about before. When a friend invited me to an art exhibit, I went. When an opportunity arose to take on a challenging project at work, I didn't shy away. Even my weekends became more adventurous. I'd take long walks in parts of the city I hadn't explored before, trying out new coffee shops, talking to strangers, and taking pictures of anything that caught my eye. It felt like I was seeing Chicago with fresh eyes, as if California had given me a new lens through which to view the world. One particularly cold Saturday morning, I found myself flipping through the photos I had taken during the trip. Each image brought back a flood of memories, the laughter, the quiet moments, the breathtaking views. Inspired, I decided to put together a photo journal of my journey. I spent hours arranging the pictures, adding little notes about each one, what I felt, what I learned, and the stories behind them. By the time I finished, I realized I had created something deeply personal. I shared the journal with Dylan, and his response was instant. Dude, this is incredible. You should share it with more people. At first, I hesitated, but then I thought about California, about the people I met who were brave enough to share their stories and dreams. I decided to upload the journal to a blog I had created years ago but never used. To my surprise, the post gained traction. People from different parts of the world commented, sharing their own travel experiences and dreams. It felt surreal to connect with so many strangers over something so personal. As time went on, California remained a part of me, not just as a memory, but as a reminder to embrace life fully. I began planning more trips, not necessarily to far-off places, but to anywhere that felt new and exciting. One evening, as I was scrolling through my blog, I received a message from someone who had read my post. It was a young girl from a small town in Kansas. "Hi, Ethan," she wrote. "I just wanted to say thank you for sharing your story. It inspired me to finally book a trip to California, something I've dreamed of for years. I'm nervous, but also excited. Wish me luck." I stared at the message, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. "Good luck," I typed back. "You're going to love it. Trust me." As I pressed send on my reply to the young girl from Kansas, a wave of nostalgia and gratitude washed over me. The thought of someone else embarking on a journey like mine, with all the wonder and self-discovery that came with it, made me realize just how impactful my trip to California had been. The blog post had started to gain more attention. Comments flooded in from people sharing their own travel stories or expressing their longing to break free from their routines. It felt like I had tapped into a shared human desire, the craving for adventure, for connection, and for a chance to see life from a new perspective. One particular message caught my eye. "Hi, Ethan. I read your story about California, and it really resonated with me. I've always wanted to explore the world, but I feel stuck in my small town. Your words gave me hope. Maybe one day I'll take that leap too." Jenna. Jenna's words stayed with me. They reminded me of the doubts I had before taking my trip, the endless excuses, the fear of the unknown. I decided to reply. "Hi, Jenna. I know how you feel. I was in the same place not too long ago, but I promise you taking that leap is worth it. Start small. Even a short trip to a nearby city can open your eyes to new possibilities. You've got this." In the weeks that followed, the connections I made through my blog turned into something more. I began exchanging emails with some of the readers, offering tips and encouragement for their own journeys. One reader, a man named Greg, shared how he finally took his family to see the Grand Canyon after years of putting it off. Another, a college student named Priya, wrote about her solo trip to New York City and how it helped her find her independence. Each story reminded me that the spirit of exploration wasn't limited to just me, it was something universal, a thread that connected us all. One day, as I walked through the snowy streets of Chicago, I found myself thinking about Dylan and the other friends I had made in California. It had been months since my trip, but the memories were still vivid. I decided to call Dylan. "Hey, man," he answered, his voice full of energy. "What's up?" "Just wanted to check in," I said, "and to thank you again for making my trip so memorable." "Are you kidding? You were the one who made it memorable, he replied. By the way, when are you coming back? I laughed. I'm not sure yet, but I've been thinking about it. There's still so much of California I haven't seen. You've got a place to stay any time, he said warmly. We'll hit up all the spots you missed last time. The idea of returning to California filled me with excitement. It wasn't just about revisiting the places I loved. It was about continuing the journey, meeting new people, and creating new memories. Back at home, I started planning my next adventure. This time, I wanted to explore the northern part of California, the redwood forests, the wine country, and the rugged coastline. But I also wanted to visit Dillon and retrace some of the steps from my first trip. I booked my flight for the spring, and as the days passed, I found myself counting down with a mixture of anticipation and gratitude. When I arrived back in California, it felt like coming home. Dylan greeted me at the airport with his signature bear hug, and we set off for another round of exploration. This time I felt more confident, more open, and more present. I took the time to savor every moment, the taste of fresh seafood by the ocean, the towering majesty of the redwoods, the warmth of the California sun on my skin. But more than anything, I cherished the people I met along the way. Each conversation, no matter how brief, felt like a gift. From the winemaker who shared stories of his family's legacy to the surfer who talked about chasing the perfect wave, everyone had something unique to offer. When I returned to Chicago after my second trip, I realized that California had become more than just a destination for me. It was a symbol of growth, courage, and connection. It reminded me of the power of saying yes to life, of stepping out of my comfort zone, and of embracing the beauty of the unknown. After my second trip to California, life in Chicago felt like it had a new rhythm. I was no longer just living each day on autopilot. Instead, I was intentionally seeking out moments that made me feel alive, just like California had taught me to do. The blog continued to thrive. I had no idea my reflections and photos would resonate so deeply with people from all walks of life. What had started as a simple way to document my travels became a community of like-minded individuals sharing their journeys, challenges, and triumphs. One day I received an email that stood out. It was from a young man named Carlos who lived in a small town in Texas. Hi, Ethan. Your stories about California really hit home for me. I've been dreaming about visiting for years, but I always thought it was out of reach. Your blog gave me hope that maybe it's not. Thank you for sharing your experiences. They've inspired me to start saving for my own trip. His words reminded me of my own hesitation before taking that first leap. I replied right away, encouraging him to go for it and offering tips on how to make the trip affordable. As time passed, I realized that sharing my experiences had become as meaningful as the experiences themselves. Every email, comment, and message was a reminder that we're all connected by our dreams and the courage it takes to chase them. One afternoon, as I was working on another blog post, I received a notification from Jenna, the girl from Kansas who had messaged me months earlier. Hi, Ethan. I finally did it. I went to California. I just got back and I wanted to thank you for giving me the push I needed. It was everything I hoped it would be and more. I even met some amazing people who've become lifelong friends. I'll never forget this trip. Her message brought a huge smile to my face. I felt like I was a small part of her journey, just as others had been a part of mine. The next few months were a whirlwind of activity. I continued to balance work, travel, and blogging, but something kept nagging at the back of my mind. As much as I loved sharing my adventures online, I wanted to do more. I wanted to create something lasting, something that could inspire people on a deeper level. That's when the idea hit me: a book. The thought of writing a book about my experiences felt daunting at first, but the more I considered it, the more it made sense. I wanted to share not just the highlights of my trips, but also the lessons I'd learned along the way, the importance of stepping out of your comfort zone, the joy of connecting with others, and the beauty of seeing the world through fresh eyes. The writing process was both challenging and rewarding. I poured my heart into every page, reliving my time in California and reflecting on how it had shaped me. I included stories about the people I met, the places I explored, and the moments that stayed with me long after I returned home. When the book was finally finished, I titled it The California Effect: How One Trip Changed Everything. It was a labor of love, and I hoped it would resonate with anyone who read it. To my surprise, the book gained traction quickly. Readers reached out to share how it inspired them to take their own leaps of faith, whether it was traveling, pursuing a passion, or simply trying something new. As I stood at a book signing event one evening, surrounded by people who had come to hear my story, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. California had given me more than just memories, it had given me a purpose. A young woman approached me holding a copy of my book. She looked nervous but excited. "Hi, Ethan," she said softly. "I just wanted to say thank you. Your book helped me find the courage to plan my first solo trip. I leave next week for New York City." I smiled, shaking her hand. "That's amazing. You're going to love it. Just remember to soak it all in and be open to whatever comes your way." Looking back, it's incredible to think about how one decision to visit California set so much in motion. It wasn't just a trip, it was a turning point. It taught me to embrace the unknown, connect with others, and live fully in the moment. And so, my dear friends, if there's one thing I've learned, it's this: life is full of opportunities to grow, connect, and explore. Whether it's through travel, meeting new people, or chasing your dreams, don't be afraid to take that first step. You never know where it might lead. Thank you for letting me share my journey with you. I hope it inspires you to create your own. Safe travels, and may your path always lead to something wonderful.